Parker Schnabel goes all in on elbow cut in desperate bid to salvage the season. As Parker Schnabel enters the final weeks of his mining season, he finds himself in one of the toughest positions of his career. His ambitious goal of hitting 10,000 ounces of gold now seems increasingly out of reach. After a season marked by missteps, machine breakdowns, and challenging ground conditions, he's managed to recover just over half of what he aimed for. To make matters worse, only one wash plant, Big Red, is still operational, churning out a mere half ounce of gold per hour. It's simply not enough. With winter fast approaching and the Yukon ground freezing fast, time is Parker's most precious and limited resource. The pressure has reached a boiling point. Every hour lost brings him one step closer to a frozen shutdown. With no other viable options, Parker has decided to take one of the boldest risks of the season, opening up a new area known as the Elbow Cut, a section of promising ground that was originally being saved for next season. Standing over the frozen terrain, Parker acknowledged that this area should have been prepped months earlier. He knew it was prime ground, rich with potential, but it had been deprioritized during earlier planning. Now, instead of waiting until the next thaw, Parker is trying to do the unthinkable: rip frozen pay dirt before the season ends. To do it, he's thrown everything he has at the problem. His biggest machines, the D11 dozers, are being pushed hard, ripping into the frozen ground to expose the pay layer buried beneath the permafrost. This method is rough on equipment, costly in fuel and maintenance, and extremely risky, but Parker believes the payoff could justify the expense. Alongside the D11S, he's deployed the 750 excavator and the largest rock trucks in his fleet, forming a small army of machines dedicated solely to the elbow cut. Despite the heavy equipment and full-force effort, the job hasn't gone smoothly. The crew is stretched thin, with teams scattered between the bridge cut, where Big Red is running, and new sections being opened for next year. The strain is palpable, and with every new complication, morale is tested. One such complication occurred when Greenhorn operator James Kurt sank a fully loaded rock truck into thick mud while hauling from the elbow cut. Initially uncertain if the truck was stuck, James soon realized there was no way out on his own. The recovery effort was immediately initiated. Foreman Mitch Blaschk pulled rookie excavator operator Jack Friskhorn from digging duties and assigned him the task of freeing the vehicle. It was Jack's first time leading a recovery of this magnitude, but there was no opportunity for hesitation. Under Mitch's guidance, Jack carefully navigated the 750 excavator into position. After a few tense minutes of trial and adjustment, the two managed to extract the truck without damage, avoiding what could have been a much longer delay. While the incident cost them time, the quick recovery got operations back on track, though it served as another reminder of how unforgiving this terrain can be. Even as the crew continued to dig out the frozen overburden, there remained one glaring logistical challenge: Roxanne, Parker's $1 million custom wash plant, needed to be moved. She was too far from the elbow cut to process the pay efficiently, and every extra minute of hauling meant lost production. The decision was made to relocate Roxanne to a new pad, only 200 feet downstream from the elbow cut. But moving such a massive plant, especially through a narrow ridge road already busy with rock truck traffic, was an undertaking filled with danger and complexity. The move started with Tyson hauling the radial stacker down the cramped road. The margin for error was razor thin, and at one point, he narrowly avoided a collision with a fully loaded truck. The stress of that near miss hung in the air as the crew prepared for the riskiest part of the move, dragging the 40-ton wash plant up a steep 30-foot ramp. The angle of the climb, the weight of the plant, and the narrow path combined to make this a treacherous task. Tension built quickly as Tyson struggled with the excavator's positioning and technique. Mitch, watching closely, voiced his concern about how the machine was being handled. Tyson, frustrated by the criticism, pushed back, insisting that his method would get the job done. The exchange was tense, but neither man lost focus on the high-stakes nature of the task. Eventually, after slow and precise maneuvering, Tyson crested the ramp and carefully placed Roxanne within inches of the planned location. Precision was essential. Any misalignment could cause delays or even structural issues when reconnecting the sluice runs, shaker deck, and water system. With teamwork and a great deal of patience, the crew locked the plant into position. Then came the challenge of getting the excavator back down safely. Tyson, still shaken from the experience, later admitted it had been one of the most nerve-wracking operations of his career. With Roxanne finally stationed and reconnected, there was a palpable sense of relief among the crew. The million-dollar wash plant was ready for action, and the countdown to winter was more urgent than ever. Soon after, Alex sent the first bucket of pay dirt from the elbow cut through Roxanne's shaker deck. The gold rush was back in motion, but now with even higher stakes. Parker had poured more than $250,000 into opening up the elbow cut. It was never part of the original plan for this year, but it had become his last, best chance to turn the season around. The cost was immense, not only in money but in manpower and machine wear. Still, Parker remained laser-focused. He knew the odds were against him. The ground was frozen. His crew was exhausted. Time was running out. But there was gold in that cut, and with prices soaring, every ounce mattered more than ever. While others might have shut down early and cut their losses, Parker was doubling down. Every dozer blade, every excavator bucket, and every load of pay dirt heading to Roxanne was a gamble, a calculated risk in a season already filled with them. And yet, for Parker Schnabel, there was no other option. The elbow cut wasn't just another piece of ground. It was the battleground for the remainder of his season. And he was all in. After a turbulent season of setbacks and relentless pressure, Parker Schnabel finally has a reason to breathe a little easier. All eyes have shifted to the elbow cut, a last-ditch effort that initially seemed like a desperate move. But just 3 days into sluicing this newly opened ground, Parker and his crew have hit a major payday, and it's a signal of hope at a critical moment. The weigh-in at the end of the week marked a turning point. As the gold trays were cleaned and ounces were counted, Parker watched intently, hoping this new cut could match the kind of returns the legendary Money Pit delivered last season, returns that peaked at around 380 ounces per week. As the scale ticked higher, past 20 ounces, then 40, 60, 150, and finally stopping at 282.3 ounces, a wave of relief swept over the crew. It was a number that changed everything. The elbow cut had not only shown potential, it had matched the best weekly production of the season. In total, including gold from other sites, the weekly haul landed at 382.4 ounces, pushing the season's overall yield to 5,425.4 ounces. At current gold prices, soaring over $2,600 an ounce, that's more than $14 million in gold pulled from the ground this season. For a crew that had been staring down the possibility of a catastrophic shortfall just days earlier, the success of the elbow cut was a lifeline. Despite the relief, Parker wasn't celebrating. He remained keenly aware of the consequences of lost time and missed preparation. Standing at the edge of the cut, he admitted to himself how frustrating it was to see such rich ground only now coming online. He couldn't shake the regret of not having stripped the elbow cut earlier in the summer, when conditions were better and time was on their side. That decision, or lack thereof, still gnawed at him, something that, in his words, kept him up at night. The reality is that while the elbow cut is now paying big, it came dangerously close to being another missed opportunity. Temperatures have already dropped lower than expected, and if the weather turns colder in the coming days, the cut could freeze again, halting progress just as things were ramping up. Still, the success was undeniable. As the crew wrapped up the day, there was a sense of pride in the air. Mitch began bagging up the gold with the steady confidence of a man who knows the operation is finally firing on all cylinders. Parker took a quiet moment to acknowledge the efforts of his crew. Tyson, Mitch, and the rest had worked tirelessly to get Roxanne at the wash plant up and running at the new site. And now, their work was paying off in gold. The elbow cut's early results have given Parker something he hasn't had in a long time this season: momentum. With a few more strong runs, he may yet close the gap between where he stands and where he hoped to be. The road ahead is still uncertain, and the Yukon winter is closing in fast, but for the first time in weeks, there's a glimmer of gold-lined hope shining through the frost. As Parker looked out over the freshly stripped cut, the weight of the season still lingered, but now, so did possibility. Elbow Cut wasn't just a gamble. It was a redemption arc, and it's only just begun.